We're here. Sorry, folks, for the delay. In this episode, we're posting this episode and the one with Marcus on the same day. That's 168, 169, because Wokenboke always pays his debts. You understand? Gabish. We always balance the budget. You know what I mean?
Are they saying gabish?
Are they saying cabbage? Cabbage? The last Jaded episode, there was some editing problems, so it didn't get out till Wednesday, and I was in crunch mode from like Sunday to Monday to Tuesday. It was
Crunchelton Esquire.
Dude, was crunching.
The 45th.
Yeah, crunching the 45th. So we didn't have time to record. But it's all good because we're here now. You got this episode with Tony and myself, and then as you can see, there's another one with Marcus as well. Marcus hasn't been on the show in a while, but we always love having him on. So happy that could work out. And Tone, what's up? Haven't talked to you in a minute.
That's true. Well, no, you called me the other day, but it was super busy, and we didn't end up talking.
Yeah, I just felt like catching up. And, I was walking to the grocery store and wasn't didn't catch you, but it
was actually one of the craziest days at work that I've had, but I can't really get into too much of it.
Was it an interpersonal situation that made it crazy?
No, it was sort of a situation where the guy who hired me, my supervisor, was removed from my department, and now it's being run by other people. Which the HR lady told me that, and I was like, oh, that's stupid.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, what a terrible idea.
Dumb. Okay.
Straight up. She knew that, though.
Yeah. Okay. I won't dive into it, but that sounds stupid.
Yeah, I'm in the marketing department. I'm a graphic designer. So the guy that was, supervising that is, a great graphic designer and taught me. Like, he's helped me improve so much. And he's probably the most, knowledgeable, useful, well-prepared employee we have. And I'm just like, oh, we're really shooting ourselves in the foot here. But
they fired him?
No, he's just now fully in the business development side. He was really juggling both.
Oh, he's in business development now?
Mm-hmm.
Hire a business development manager.
Well, no, but he's really good at that too.
Oh.
He's goated at that. So he's really goated at both. So
that's what happens when you're too good.
So
you're too good.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get a lot more value from him on that end, but we'll see how the marketing goes. Trying to, keep a open mind and see how it goes. But I was like, that's not a good idea. Wow.
Right. Well,
so tumultuous week, but otherwise it was good.
Tumultuous week, but
that's how it goes sometimes.
You shake it out. My chair, by the way, I mean, this has been the case for months and months now, maybe even a whole year at this point, but it doesn't won't stay up anymore. It's lost all the pressure and the
Ooh, that sucks.
Yeah. And I think you have to figure out how to replace the fucking air canister. And every tutorial I've looked into it is like, yeah, so just go ahead and get a drill and get this and get that. And it's like, yeah, I don't, if this is gonna, and then to buy the thing itself, it costs like $50 to $70 to buy the air canister. And it's like, nah, I think I'll just buy a good office chair. That's not a gaming chair someday.
That's what I hear a lot of people recommend to do. Like when I was looking up chairs, they were like, don't even go for the gaming chairs. Like get a legit office chair because they have a lot more features and they're more well made and etc. So
the one I want to get is called it's called a steel case gesture. It's about $1,700. It is Tim Robbins of Action Button recommended that as the best chair. And it's really dope. You can move the arms around and they just will stay wherever you put them. Let me look at it actually while I'm talking about it. Steel case gesture.
Looking at it now.
And
that's some future shit.
Yeah, there's one that comes with like a a headrest too, which is the one I want to get. But yeah, the arms, like they'll swivel out, they'll swivel in, they'll like they're like, that's why it's called the gesture, because the arms can kind of go wherever you need them, and it's just like an amazing chair. So like I just want to buy one office chair that'll last me the rest of my life. So it's kind of like a car, but it's expensive. So
it's an investment, but if it's something you're sitting in, I mean, you work from home, right?
I'm hybrid, but yeah, I work from home 3 days a week.
Yeah, so
and then I edit. I mean, like after we record this, I'm gonna have to watch the new Jaded episode. It's 3 hours long, and write notes throughout that, and like make sure it's not fucked up in any way. And so it's a lot of time.
Yeah, then you owe it to yourself to have a nice chair. You know,
yeah.
If it's something you use every day for hours and hours, like you shouldn't feel bad about splurging on it.
No,
comfort
and I won't.
is key.
I would be very happy if I ever had the money to buy that.
It looks like the chair, like the CEO and iRobot would be sitting in or some shit. Like it looks like Bruce Greenwood.
So I'm allergic to bullshit. Yeah, the guy who's like the captain before Captain Kirk in Star Trek. I forget that actor's name.
Oh, fucking you mean his dad? Chris Hemsworth?
The Captain Pine or something, not Chris.
Oh
Pine,
yeah,
the
same guy, same from iRobot. Yeah, Bruce Greenwood, I think is his name.
Bruce Greenwood. Yeah, you never remember that guy's name, but he's in fucking everything.
Mm-hmm. Is he in Jurassic Park too? I forget what he's in.
I don't think so. He's in 13 Days, which is that Cuban Missile Crisis movie. He played John F. Kennedy in it. Which is funny because I can't imagine him talking like this. Era.
Oh, does he play? He plays JFK. He doesn't really.
And then he plays Captain Christopher Pike in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek.
And then he's also in no other movies that I've seen.
He's in Mad Men. He plays Gil Garcetti in The People vs. O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story.
He's in Dinner for Schmucks. Saw that in theaters.
I've never seen that. I should see that. That's funny. He's in fucking National Treasure Book of Secrets. He's in the fucking Kingsman, The Golden Circle. He's in fucking Deja Vu, iRobot, Dinner for Schmucks, Capote, The Post. He's in Super 8.
He voices the Buttman too.
The Buttman?
Yeah.
In Class of the Titans. Oh, and Batman Under the Hoods. He would be a good Batman voice. R.I.P. Kevin Conroy, our guy. Really the best Batman voice of all time. Really the best Bruce Wayne of all time, Kevin Conroy.
I think one of the greatest just animated voice performances ever. Like it just when I read Batman comics, I can hear his voice. Like I'm able to read it in his voice. Mm-hmm. It's just so fire.
The Joker is I probably would read Kevin Conroy's voice. Reading Batman. I always think of the phenomenal Kevin Conroy when I'm reading Hush.
I am the night.
I am the night. I am vengeance. Yeah. I didn't think that Robbie Patz would be, frankly, any good as Batman, frankly.
That part 2 that's coming out in 2025.
I know, and they're calling it Batman Part 2. And it's like, I like the Chris Nolan first 2 movies. The thing I liked about those movies is they named them different things. Mm-hmm. And I hate sequels with a 2 in it, unless it's like a comedy or like an action movie. And I always prefer the Roman numeral to the number.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Personally. I think it looks stupid.
The number is like for like Air Bud sequels, or like fucking,
Right. Comedies. Like
fucking
Grown-Ups 2.
It's also like
The Hangover 2.
It's all that uses Roman numerals. I think Hangover.
The worst is the X-Men saga. Is they'll go like the X-Men. I'm gonna look this up.
X2. Yeah,
it's like X-Men, X2, X-Men Part 3, The Last Stand.
Right.
It's like fuck off. Yeah, it's This is even worse because it's X-Men. Here, I'm just gonna go to the film series. Let's see. All these are directed by Bryan Singer, which is like
Right.
literal pedophile. Yeah, it's X-Men, then X2, then X-Men: The Last Stand. Not even X-Men 3.
It's not a sequel to the second one. It's its own thing.
Yeah. And then there's the Wolverine trilogy, which is X-Men Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine, and then Logan. I never saw The Wolverine. Did you? You definitely
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like in Japan. It was okay.
Directed by James Mangold.
Yeah.
Who did Ford versus Ferrari and Walk the Line. Oh, that's directed by a good director. And then Logan.
It's top shelf mid.
Toppy shelf mid.
Logan was solid, but I feel like it gets like it's kind of like the Joker, where like people fucking freaked out about how good it was, and I'm like, you know.
I've seen Logan, but I don't remember any of it. I think I was high or fell asleep during it. Probably. And then there's
depressing.
Right.
It's not a happy movie.
No. And then wasn't the girl from The Last of Us in that as the girl?
No, it's a different girl. This girl's from Game of Thrones.
Stephen Merchant's in it. Oh yeah, he's in it. Oh, Daphne Keane. Oh yeah, she's in Game of Thrones as what? I forget.
Miss Mormont or whatever. She's like becomes the leader of one of the little like the mini kingdoms in the north because everyone else dies in her family, so she's like the leader.
Right. I remember that. I remember this. And then there's the X-Men prequel films: First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and then Dark Phoenix. But they fucked that up because they didn't call the last one X-Men Dark Phoenix. All the other ones are X-Men : the title. The last one's just Dark Phoenix.
Oh, for real? It's not even called X-Men?
No.
Man, that movie was ass.
I heard it was terrible. What's funny is that X-Men Days of Future Past is such a solid movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's so good.
First Class is decent too.
Yeah.
So there's really only 5 good X-Men movies. X-Men 1, X2, Logan, First Class, Days of Future Past. Yeah. Apocalypse was not good.
They're listing Deadpool and Deadpool 2 as X-Men movies, and then the New Mutants, which I didn't see.
No, that one. I mean, I feel like that got delayed, maybe all the way to COVID, but I feel like maybe it came out before that. I don't know. I know someone that watched it and they said it was really bad, though. So I never had that.
Tony, I wish to politely interject and let you know that I forgot to introduce something.
Oh, okay.
That would be marijuana to my central nervous system. I'm
to the dome.
To the dome. No, I forgot to introduce the podcast.
Come on, nerd.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Look, ladies and gentlemen, thadies and gentlethems, it is Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. Welcome to another episode of Wokenboke. Boom! Have you seen this meme going around of people going, yippee? Wow!
After someone does like a dive?
Yeah, and they're like, yippee! I'm never asking my white friend to record me anymore. And he just goes, hooray!
Yeah. Yes, I'm familiar.
Episode 168 to be quite exact. I am one of your hosts, Connor Boyd, also known as Moschino Dorito on the internet. Maybe you know me from TikTok. Maybe you know me from Jaded. Maybe you know me from fucking Wokenboke. It is possible. I am usually joined by 2 of my best friends from the Great Gateway to the West, St. Louis, Missouri. But unfortunately, Mr. Max Sanza is not here. He's on tour with Newfoundland Glory. So I am joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, Tony motherfucking Harrop, the man.
Wow.
Wow. How you doing, buddy?
Hey. I'm well. Yeah.
You're looking great.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just like looking at myself and the way the lights hit me, I'm just like
You're just like, earn this.
there was this meme where it was audio from Breaking Bad, and it's when Skylar's like meets Jesse, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm actually Skylar White."
Skylar White, yo.
Yeah, and it's a guy like voicing that, and every time like at the end of a sentence, it'd be like, "Brr," and he'll be like, I don't even know how he fucking does it.
I know exactly what that video probably was like.
Okay,
because I've seen that meme before, where it's just like, goosh, every time she says something. Walter White, yo, goosh.
Yeah.
It's like the Vine boom sound. Whoever created that is a genius. The Vine boom sound, the original. Look, every week we get together, they get together with us and catch up on our lives, on what we have been watching or playing or doing or whatever. And you can subscribe if you fuck with it. We've been doing this this is our 4th calendar year existing. 2019?
19, 20, 21, 22.
Oh my God.
23.
My math is bad. So yeah, this is the 5th calendar year we've existed in. God, I didn't brush my tongue. My bad.
Half a decade.
Earn this. And it's crazy. This is a complete passion project. If you're listening for the first time, we just do this totally in our free time, and we put it out every single week. And it's because we have a good fucking time when we do it, and we just would feel immense shame if we ever stopped. So I think we're just kind of locked in via sort of a humiliation blood contract. And so we're never going to end it. Look, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Like I said, you can follow us on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You can also join our Discord. You can also follow us on Twitter at wokenbokepod and Instagram at wokenbokepodcast. And you can reach out to our Gmail, wokenbokepodcast@gmail.com with your questions, comments, and suggestions, and we will read them on the show. Links to all of these are listed in the show description. So here we are. We're here. Tony, I think I told you guys this. Maybe I didn't, but I am quitting 4 things for an unforeseen amount of time.
Is one of them masturbating?
Yes. Wow. Wasn't expecting that, but yes. Porn and masturbation is one of them.
It's fucking evanescence. Like, how can you see into my soul?
Wow. Yeah, no, it is. The 4 things are marijuana.
Well, okay.
Alcohol.
Wow.
Caffeine.
That's a tough one.
And then porn and masturbation.
Kind of a twofer right there.
Why am I quitting the last one? Why? Because I should just kind of have sex instead. That's how I feel about it. Yes. Just wait until I'm having sex, you know. Now my rule is I don't think it's healthy to not ejaculate for too long of a time. I don't think it's healthy for your heart or your body. I think doctors literally recommend that it's healthy if you do it, you know, once or twice or 3 times a week. I think you should have regular emissions. So I'm not trying if that literally causes problems, I don't want to.
Right, you're not going to endure a dry spell just to.
No, and I've done that before. I've not wanked it for 2 months before, which I know you talk to anybody and it's like that's a long time.
Yeah, I remember like back in high school at one point, like there was something like a month or something like that, and you know my first time back in the ring, like. It hurt. I was like, "Oh fuck, ow!" Like, really? You're my gooch, like the the freaking the muscle. Or whatever
that muscle. You pulled your gooch muscle
that runs parallel with your with the seam. You know, Just
I know.
freaking. Yeah.
I have a.
Yeah, I'm very familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So you hurt yourself masturbating is what happened?
And yeah, it like hurt really bad. I was like, fuck.
Like, there's like electricity coming out of your penis hole.
Yeah. Hearty oatmeal ropes.
Hearty oatmeal ropes. That's not accurate to the novels, actually. They're not hearty, okay? They're very translucent and thin.
Viscous. Yeah,
that's really the greatest Welcome Boke moment of all time, isn't it? It's the one we refer to the most, I think.
Oh yeah, hearty oatmeal ropes.
Girthy. It was like Murthy or something. I said something. I said something nasty. Oatmeal ropes.
Busting oatmeal ropes. Yeah, 100%.
Oatmeal ropes is the gnarliest way to describe like a gravy-esque like cum. It's disgusting. Like
foul.
Like imagine your cum's like, biscuits and gravy, like that sausage gravy. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. That's disgusting as
hurt.
Fuck. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah. I don't think that's normal though. I don't think you're supposed to literally go, like when you're coming. I don't.
No, it's supposed to feel only good.
It's supposed to feel only good. But I remember one time I quit for 60 days, and it was kind of a thing where it was actually when I lost my virginity. I was like, I'm not going to jerk off until this happens. And then it happened. Thank God. Well, actually, that didn't happen. It was not full on home run, but it was, I hooked up with somebody and ejaculation occurred.
So this would be
so
like
sorry, guys. This is not usually as graphic as we get. Gravy cum and jerking off and all this stuff. It's like usually this disgusting. So I apologize, but it's funny because the hardest I'd ever built it was 2 weeks actually. Was crazier than that for some reason. Doing it after 2 weeks was crazier than doing it after 2 months. Because I think maybe my body had acclimated. Whereas if you jerk off all the time and you quit for 2 weeks, your body's still fucking starving for it. And I also broke that streak out of a weakness too. So I was I really wanted also. And that was probably one of the most forceful busts in my life, to be honest. But anyway, so I'm quitting those 4. And the reason I'm quitting those 4 is for multiple reasons. So to give some context, because there's multiple nuances to this for me, because a lot of times you just say, I'm going sober and people are like, oh my God, it's like a big deal. And it's it sounds intense and whatever. The reason I'm going sober is because last year I was, we started Jaded last year and it was pretty stressful in the early days. Those were for logistical reasons, interpersonal reasons. There were all these reasons that made it stressful. And when I went to a work trip to Lisbon, I had a really bad day one day where I woke up hungover, and it was a mixture of interpersonal shit, but it was also anxiety that exacerbated that from being hungover. It was the first time I'd ever had real anxiety from being hungover because I had been partying in Lisbon till 2-3 in the morning, and then I had to get up at 7 to go to a work basically seminar. Yeah, and I felt like shit. And there was a guy I worked with that I really didn't fucking like, and he was just getting destroyed every night. He was clearly an alcoholic, and couldn't help himself. And I also just hated him because he was a misogynist creep, piece of shit, American, acting like an asshole in Europe. And
cool guy.
So it made me just be like, fuck drinking, fuck smoking, blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't really commit to caffeine. I was like, I'm not going to drink caffeine, but I didn't really commit to it. And I also didn't commit to any jerking off porn, whatever. But so I did that for 100 days. I didn't quit caffeine for 100 days. That broke after about 2 weeks. And then I would do it intermittently. And then it became a full on, I had to have 2 energy drinks a day type shit.
Ooh, yeah.
And it was bad because that would make me crash. I would drink it to stay awake to watch My Hero Academia. because I would fall asleep watching My Hero Academia. So I would be like, oh, caffeine will keep me up. And then I would just crash and fall asleep anyway. So, but I was sober for 100 days. Then in that August, I went to Texas, was acting in a project, came back. Some interpersonal stuff got figured out. I felt a really big relief. And then I was just like smoking and drinking like that. And I was back on it like I'd never left. And it was like a little overcompensating. And then I would say that like through the fall all the way into this January, it was just like still doing that a lot. And so I kind of miss it because I kind of look at it as like I basically took a break from sobriety in a way. Like I just took a break from it. Now I can come back. There's way less stakes because I'm not doing it because like my life sucks and I can't handle it. It's because I want to. And I'll break down why it's those 4 things. To me, those are the 4 things that like I don't show an ability to have moderation about. Like those are things where I don't really have a balance yet on those things. So there's 6 things that I'm addicted to. It's those 4 things. The other two things that I need to have a more balanced life is food and social media. Like fully addicted to my phone, fully addicted to, once you've gotten rid of those 4 things, you replace all your happiness with food type shit. So those are the other 2 things. But I believe I can show moderation in these 2 things. I can have a balanced lifestyle in these 2 things. These 4 things, not quite yet. But to me, what I experienced doing that for 100 days last year was like once you get rid of those 4 things, which to me are the 4 things that my brain runs to as like a short-term gratification dopamine rush. Phone is obviously one of them, but these are the 4 like, whatever. Once you remove those, like your brain starts like you're dopamine deprived. So your brain's kind of like,
heck.
Like, what are we going to do? So you start watching movies, you start reading books or manga, or you start watching stuff, or you start going out. And also what I realized when I was sober last year was I can have such a fun time without alcohol or weed. It's just like no one ever actually puts themselves in a situation where they're trying to have fun without it because it's always there as an option. So why? So you think you need it. You're like, this would suck if I didn't have this. But if you've already made the conscious choice that you're not, what's left over can cultivate so much more stuff. You realize, oh, like I don't really need this. If anything, it makes me want to have more fun. It energizes me and makes me more social. It makes me more in the present. It makes me more everything because I have to get something out. I have to have fun. So, because I don't live life without having fun. That's just not a thing. Every day I have fun. Every day I have a good time. I make some funny jokes and entertain myself and have a good time. So that's really why I'm doing it. And to me, it's just like, it's exciting what happens when you remove those things from the equation, what your mind gravitates towards and what your habits gravitate towards. And it's not just to be productive it's not for any of those reasons. It's literally just because there's just a lot of benefits and I'm kind of into it. And it's not a restriction. It's not self-denial. It's actually more like it enhances all those 4 things more, actually makes them all more fun. Because I will smoke weed again. I will drink again. I will beat off again. I will drink caffeine again. All 4 of those are going to be more potent the next time I do it. So, because dude, when I remember Young Nudie came out with that Slime Ball album. Well, not Slime Ball, whichever the newest slime, the album he did with Pierre, where he's like a giant green like monster on the front of it. I remember smoking for like one of the first times since I had quit and coming back and listening to that album, and it was like it felt like the first time you ever smoked weed and listened to trap music. Like it was like I was just like orgasming in my head, and weed just was like, you know, that thing where you're like, when like just a bowl of weed was enough to just destroy you. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Like that's where you get back to. Your tolerance gets back to that, and it's just like, and then you're like. Then you're a pothead all over again. Because then you're like, I could do this and do so many things, and I can't wait to see how fun it is doing all these different activities, but high. So it's like a great reset. So I'm just really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to everything. It's not a lifestyle change. It's just, you know, that's where I'm at right now. So anyways, that was really long-winded, but there you go.
That's all good stuff. I mean, I don't drink hardly ever, so I'm pretty good on that front. Like I've on any of the dates that I've gone on since I got back from over like being home for Christmas and stuff. Like I haven't drank once, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then, but quitting the other stuff like caffeine. Like I just got an energy drink. I got one for tomorrow. But I have stopped getting them in the morning before work, and I've mostly stopped drinking coffee too. But I do get it sometimes. I don't know. I feel like I'm moderate. I mean, if I do it just on the weekends, is it that bad? It'd be nice to not rely on any substance or like spend money on anything, you know, because you're not really supposed to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I got into drinking in later adulthood. Like I never really liked to go out to bars and stuff because I was always a pothead and I always just kind of wanted to kick it and watch movies and shit. But now living in New York, my girlfriend's more social and like, you know, my friends live here and there's nice bars and I make a little bit more money so I can actually afford to go out. I found like a real penchant for going out and just spend a lot of money on drinks and having a good time. So I drink a lot more but I was always the same way. Weed was plenty for me. I didn't need to drink on top of that. You know, I was always fine, but now I like to drink. So it's like, I'll drink beer at my house. I love to just kick it on the couch and have a like, honestly, what I love to do is just destroy a 6-pack by myself. It's just the best. I mean, it's just the best to get destroyed off a 6-pack. So, you know, but, so yeah, we'll reset and, you know, I think this might be something I do every year, you know, like maybe it's a good way to just kind of like reset my life. Like, you know, after the holidays, you just kind of like quit all your vices and then, you know, come fall again, when it gets cold and shitty, you start, you know, smoking that loud, drinking that bourbon, that whiskey.
Prepping for the annual sesh.
Prepping for the annual sesh, right? Dude,
so you don't go in cold.
Speaking of which, I don't know if I sent you this, but if you go to our YouTube, our Watch Later playlist, it's one of the videos on it. But there's this dude who I found this on TikTok. This guy who's like a I don't know, like a Terrence McKenna kind of guy, talking about doing 20 to 30 grams of dried psilocybin mushrooms. For those who are not familiar, 3.5 grams, an eighth, in other words, is a tripping dose of mushrooms. So imagine 10xing that. And he was basically talking about how that basically the drug changes into something else when you're in those high doses. Are you finding it right now, Tony? You're just kind of like staring.
Yeah, I'm on our YouTube channel. What? It's in a playlist?
It's on our Watch Later playlist. Let me see if I can find it.
What is that?
It's not really. There's nothing really to like. You'd have to listen to it. It's not really like a visual thing, but
okay.
I can text it to you, or I can send it to you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll pull it up to see if I can get the name so other people can look it up. But let's see. Watch Later. Where the fuck is our Watch Later? Here we go. Yeah. Kalindi EI. Yeah, Kalindi EI. High dose mushrooms beyond the threshold. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. There's actually 2 videos that I saved. He passed away, not of doing mushrooms, but just I guess maybe health. I don't know. I didn't look it up, but dude, I started watching this like 40-minute presentation he gave at like some psychedelics conference about high dose mushrooms. And he says dude, you got to watch it at some point. He says some crazy shit. He's like 30 grams is more than what John Hopkins would say is a high dose. It's even more than what Terrence McKenna would describe as a heroic dose. And I mean, he's basically talking about, he's like, a couple things that he said that were crazy. One was he talked about mushrooms are the most ancient entheogen, which are basically plants that have psychedelic properties. It's the most ancient one because you just consume it straight out of the ground. It's not, it doesn't need to be boiled. It doesn't need to be cooked or synthesized. It predates fire, which means it predates man. So it grew out of, in the forests of Africa or in the plains of Africa, whatever. He was doing so much shit, like explaining like ancient geographical shit. Like Africa used to be full of forests, like woods, like before it got hot over millions of years. And then it became grasslands. And the grasslands would have cows, and then they would, or that type of animal, and then they would shit these huge bovine, for example. They would shit these huge pies of shit, and then a giant mushroom would grow out of it with a cap the size of a dinner plate. And he said that early man, you know, when they were, if you're just trying to survive as a human back then, you know, all you care about is food. So eventually you're going to try anything that grows out of the ground. You're going to try it to survive.
Might as well.
So they probably ate that. And he said it's like a tool for intergalactic communication type shit. You really got to watch it. It's fucking fascinating. Because he's also real eclectic. Like he's kind of batty, you know? Like he talks about how it's like the rule. He compares it to acid or ayahuasca. Like ayahuasca, when you do it in a ceremony with other people. And he's like, mushrooms, it's just you and the unknown, and it's just you out there, and it's just your bravery versus the complete unknown. And he's like, he compared it to the Jedi and the Sith. He's like, ayahuasca is like the Jedi. You're all like learn together and you whatever. He's like, mushrooms are like the Sith, where he's like he's starting to reference like deep like Star Wars book lore. He's like, it's the rule of two with the Sith. Like every Sith. The rule of two with the Sith is there's an apprentice and a master, and then when the apprentice gets as good as the master, he's supposed to kill the master. And he's like, that's what mushrooms are like. He's like, it's not meaning they're evil. It's just like, it's just you and the mushrooms, and that's it. It's not a communal experience. And I think about all the times I've experienced ego death on acid, and where you just feel like I'm not a person anymore, or like I don't really know what that means, and you just feel like you're in outer space. And I had the scary thought the other day of like just the abyss, like basically like what if it is just a completely infinite abyss of just nothing. And it's like, well, at least I'll have, you know, if that happens, I won't have consciousness. So I probably won't fear the infinite abyss, whatever. But, but, you know, just thinking like that. And he was talking about doing 20 to 30 grand. He's like, and people think you have to be some kind of expert, whatever. He's like, no, we've given this to people in their 70s. We've given this to people with blah, 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 blah. Like all these things that you wouldn't expect to be able to handle psychedelics. And he was like, when you're on 20 to 30 grams of dried psilocybin, he's like, it's just another, you will see, you know, the forests and jungles and realms of different dimensions throughout the galaxy, throughout the multi-dimensionals. And he's like, you take it and you leave. You're not there anymore. You don't see the room. You may start floating around the room. And he's like, but it's not like acid where it's all fun time. He goes, mushrooms, it's not all fun. It's not all fun. He's like, you have to be prepared to see you may see the predator walk through the room, followed by the alien chasing him. That's what he said. He's like, you start to go to different realms and jungles of different dimensions. And he's like, you get to a point where you meet the insectozoids. And he goes, The praying mantises have given me a lot of trouble. That's what he says. And I'm just like, dude, can you imagine like a giant praying mantis like wrestling with you? Are you fucking kidding me? Like that sounds insane. But you've tripped utter sack. I mean, like you've literally dip sacked beyond the realms.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, what if you dip sack so hard? I love how I swear we wouldn't come up with all these words if we didn't do acid. Honestly, I swear.
Certainly not. Yeah.
Like I came up with dipping sack mid-trip. I was like, I'm just dipping sack, bro. Instead of tripping sack, I was just, dude, I'm just
dipping.
When I'm just fully dipping sack. And it's funny because it's also like, it's like, I picture like someone dipping their ball sack in acid. Like imagine that's how you get high. You just hold your shaft and dip your ball sack in like a cup of acid.
You like you like sit in like a sauna or something, so your pores open up, and then you dunk your balls.
And then you dunk your balls in like a chocolate covered apple. Like you dip your balls in a cup of acid, a pure lysergic acid.
You let it sit there and soak.
Yeah.
You let it for 3 to 5 minutes.
You have to let the dip soak into your sack. That's the only way it's going to work, Tony.
It's the only way you're going to dip sack.
Yeah. That's the only way.
I love how that voice sounds nothing like him. But he kind of does, right?
It does. It's like a hyperbole.
He has that treble in his voice or whatever. He has that, you know.
I keep getting his videos fucking on my feed, and I'm like, why do I keep getting recommended?
Oh, I was talking about your dad, not Jay Peterman.
I thought we were talking about Jay Pete.
No.
Similar, same phylum of...
Same genus.
Jordy Petey. Yeah, no.
Jordy B. See, he would be like,
they're dipping sack now. That's what this cursed generation is doing. They're taking cups of dip and dipping sack. And it's not okay. It's not okay to do that. Yeah, your dad and Jordan Peterson are kind of the same voice.
Yeah, it's just really what they say. But yeah. Anyways, I'm going to look up how this guy died. But isn't that wild?
Yeah. Sorry, what is the context of his presentation here? It's like
it's IE. It's Kalindi IE. Not. Yeah, no, that's what I said. What is the what now?
The context of this presentation, is it like a
it's
video
like
he made?
It's a presentation he gave at this conference called Breaking Convention, which I think is like a psychedelics. Let's see. I'll read the description here. Kalindi IE is the head instructor and technical advisor of the Tamarian Martial Art Institute. He is a mycologist, which is mushrooms, teacher and world traveler who has presented on the subject of high dose psilocybin from the U.S. to Norway to Australia. So it's for those dipping sack around the world, really.
I think mushrooms are like getting more popular, and like you can just buy them in stores now. Like weed in certain states. It'll be like the Netherlands, you know, the Dutch.
The Dutch.
They fucking just can go into a store and buy that shit in like a chocolate bar instead of just eating like mulch.
Yeah, no, most I mean the place, the service that if I ever want like that gas, like that propane weed delivered, I call this service, and they have basically. Sorry, this is playing now. They have basically like they have their own like organic homegrown shit. It's pretty amazing. It's like it'll be like albino mushrooms too, like straight.
Oh my god.
Yeah, crazy.
My god.
But anyways, I just thought that was cool as fuck because I came across it on a TikTok, and I'm like, I gotta watch what this whole thing is. So I looked it up, and unfortunately, the guy passed away. Oh, that's what I was trying to look up. Kalindi IE.
You freaking took too many mushrooms and like walked off a cliff.
I really hope that's horrible, Tony.
I remember someone came in and talked to our high school, and they were talking about how this kid did shrooms, and he like got in a car and like drove it and crashed it and died and stuff, and they were like trying to scare us away from mushrooms, but
You're like, I wouldn't drive the whip on shroomies.
right, I'm not dumb though.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, the key to anyone there who's never done psychedelis, which we could just start calling them delis.
Delis, yeah.
Anyone done delis before? The key is just make it the perfect environment. Have everything you need: water, food, and honestly, if you're going above a normal trip dose, always have a trip sitter. Yeah, I would recommend not having a dog that barks and makes grumbletons mid-sesh. But it's the most fun you can have, in my opinion. It's like galactic level fun. It's like it's funny because to me, there's a spiritual side of it, because in a way, because when we do that, like when we do 6 tabs, when it happens, it's funny, man, with the delis. You know, there's 2 worlds, really. There's the world that we see from our own ego, and then there's just the infinite reality, whatever that exists. And you get a glimpse of that world when you're on these drugs. And it's funny because I don't know if you've ever had this thought, Tony, like sort of like this introspective thought during a trip, but I always have this thought of like, it's hilarious we're doing this for fun. Like this is whenever I'm like, it's like you're playing with the God molecule for fun. It's like when you're on it, you realize you're like, you start to rethink things. You're like,
oh yeah,
we did this for fun just to watch movies and stuff, but we're playing with the infinite. We're playing with this incredibly powerful thing that's bigger than me, and we're reducing it to just having some fun, having a little goofy time. And it's like there is something sacred about having those times with your best friends and having a good time. That's what it's all about. And every time I do it, every time we have our little ritual, I have that thought of like, this is why we do it. This is what life's about. You know, you have those thoughts. But you also look at yourself from a third objective perspective, and like, you're like, this guy, I got here because I just wanted to it's funny that we treat it like it's just weed, like just another fade basically to get, like just another high. But it's so much more complex and multidimensional and amazing than just weed, than just smoking weed. It's like, it's like
on the same planet.
It's like going for a bike ride for fun versus getting in a fucking Apollo space shuttle and flying to the fucking moon. Like it's
right.
Or interdimensional fucking travel. It's like it's just kind of like you look at yourself and you're like, what am I doing? I did this for fun, when this is like an incredible life-changing experience, but we're just doing this for fun. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Are you saying like
we reduce it to just fun when it has the implications of what acid and all these drugs actually are? You're going to you're looking into God's face. You're going to heaven in a way. You know what I mean? Like it's so much bigger than just a drug that you have fun with, but we treat it like that. But it's funny when you're on it, you look at yourself and you're like, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's like going to another planet. You're like, why am I just vacationing here? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's like, why am I going to this country to vacation when I could just live here theoretically if I, you know, was more spiritually or you know, Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, Taoism, if I was more into that, like,
could you achieve that mindset permanently?
You can't. I mean, my boy Kyle is he's been probably practicing meditation and breathing and all that stuff for about 10 years now. And he's had many times where he's literally had to stop because he was going so far that he was too afraid to break through what he was about to break through. And we're talking out of body experiences. We're talking like floating through the fucking room, fucking levitation, that type of shit. Like, I mean, it's real. Like, if you can, there's shit with quantum mechanics where if you can tap into the way the fabric of this universe works, I mean, nothing's impossible, man. I don't believe anything's fucking impossible. And I think you can live a life where you're basically high or tripping sack all the time because you're just in such a state of mindfulness meditation that you reach that plane and stay there. And yeah, Kyle's been like, Kyle will like vaguely refer like, yeah, I'm not ready to quite go there yet, but I still do it, but I'm not ready to go there quite yet. And what he's saying quite yet is like just breaking like another dimension type shit. So it's really fascinating because, you know, I've had like a mentor of mine take it, and he was basically like, I was actually familiar. He had never done acid, but he was like, I was actually familiar with the feeling from meditation. So, you know, acid is just a switch that turns that on in your brain. But if you do enough breathing, if you set the intention with your mind and you do that practice, like you can be high off nothing. So it's something I've always thought about, and it's I've experienced true, real peace and harmony through meditation. It's crazy. It's like magic. I don't think people really realize what meditation can actually be and what it can do, and how powerful your breath is, and how powerful your body is, and how your mind is directly guided by your body. It's not the other way around. It's your body controls your mind. Absolutely. Yeah, you can literally calm your nerves through breathing. Like when you're having a panic attack or you're overthinking or whatever, we always try to combat that with like assuring thoughts. And Tony doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I'm talking to people who have experienced this, but you try to combat that with assuring thoughts, but actually what you need to combat it with is the body. It is the breath. It is the body. That's the thing that controls it. So anyways, look how much I'm rambling this episode. I have not had a sip of caffeine this morning. I have so much energy. I haven't had caffeine in days. So anyways,
I would say I do know what you're talking about. I'm just naturally really good at sort of not overthinking things, like living in the exact present moment, realizing that going over shit in my head over and over does absolutely nothing. Like events will play out as they will, and the more you think about it, not the more you think about it, but just thinking about it a ton is not necessarily going to change the outcome or how things play out.
Of course, it never does.
The what?
It never does. But what's interesting about you, Tony, is you show signs of having an obsessive mind sometimes. Like you can really lock in and obsess over details. I mean, you're a graphic designer. Like that takes detail, that takes thought, that takes thinking, you know, that takes a brain that most people, if they had it, would have anxiety and overthink and obsess and have recursive, intrusive, and negative and paranoid thoughts. But you've managed to, you've never had that issue. And I know it's partially because you have this like perspective, but I mean, I've known Tony since I think we probably played together I mean, our parents were friends before we were alive. So I've known Tony forever. I've really never seen Tony be in a state of trigger. I've never seen Tony be in a true state of upset, like truly upset. Not to say he doesn't get upset, but it's like, that's also just part of who you are. I don't get it. I'm glad you're like that because I love you. You're my bestie, but you know, it's crazy. I don't know. Like talk more about that because that's so interesting.
Well, I think like, I mean, I guess
because I'll let, but just to give context, the what I'm trying to frame this as is, sure, there's perspective, like having a good perspective on life, but that doesn't help everybody. Not everybody's. There's people with a great perspective on life who still go through this, who still have anxiety and all these problems. So it's more than just you have a good outlook on life, which you do, but I'm wondering what's the X factor there that kind of sets you apart.
Well, I feel like I've changed, a decent amount over the past 5 to 10 years, like from, like me starting out in college 10 years ago versus now. I've changed a lot, but I think like maybe the biggest part is like just learning to let go, or like not to be attached, or like to desires and stuff like that. Like if you just let go of the desire to like for anything. I mean that's what, you don't have to listen to me talk about it. Like that's what monks and shit do, and fucking and Buddhists and all that kind of stuff. They don't like the highs and lows in their life aren't determined like ultimately by like material things and stuff like that. And I have a lot of material things, I probably have a spending problem. I buy, fucking graphic novels, and I buy like fucking, paintball shit and all that stuff. But like at the end of the day, like if I lost all of it, like if someone came into my house and stole it all, like, I'd be okay.
That's basically the same with me. There's no real material possessions that I would care way more about losing my sense of humor or my mind than I would, or my body, than I would care about anything I own. I don't think there's a single thing I own that I care that much about. There's not even a single file on my computer, a single photograph, a single anything, keepsake, nothing. It could all burn down. Like I'm definitely on that same wave too. Just side note.
But also a lot of this is affected by the fact that I have a super, super lucky life, or like really blessed or fortunate life, where I have like a really great family that is not toxic to be around. They're all like super nice to each other, and that's taught me to be nice to people and be empathetic and not be cynical and douchey and aggressive. And so, everything my family's taught me and how they treat each other. And, I have parents that aren't divorced. I have a safety net. If I got fired, I wouldn't be on the streets. So a lot of that makes it easier for me. A lot of people have none of that stuff, none of those reassurances. So I can't really give them the advice that they probably need. But I would encourage anyone that maybe does, think about it, and maybe you do have one or more of those things, like just being thankful about those things and realizing that billions of other people don't have that.
Yeah.
I said it to you that one time. I was like, not only are we, you, me, and a lot of our peers that, we grew up with and people that we know personally, like have some of the most like comfortable, easy, fortunate, and like amazing lives, and not only people that have ever existed or exist now or ever will exist, probably.
Yeah.
Because we're living before some potential downfall of human civilization.
I'm very happy. And like, it's funny, like the only time I've ever really been depressed was last year, dealing with like that interpersonal stuff. And that has caused an anxiety in me that hasn't necessarily gone away. And I think that's because of I think it's me growing into a new perspective. And I think it won't be like that forever. But I think I've change and growth is hard. Like it mentally is hard. It's physically hard. But like I was never depressed. I never hated myself. I never hated my life. Nothing. And I don't now. And it's always the people around you that it's love that determines whether you're depressed or not. And what made me a lot less anxious and a lot less depressed was like resolving those interpersonal things. And it kind of like reified a certain kind of like strength in me that I will take going forward. And things always get better. But I agree. Like I've been very happy, and I've never been a real depressed guy. I've never been a real anxious guy. I definitely have certain idiosyncrasies and shit that is worth going to therapy about. But in general, like, yeah, I feel the same way. I've been very blessed and stuff. And I think, yeah, I don't know. It's still interesting though, because it's like, yeah, I think that's a big part of it is letting go. just completely letting go.
It's like it's literally like what fucking Yoda was saying or to Anakin or whatever. He's like, you got to let go of, everything that you fear to lose.
It's really, it all comes down to fear, really. It always comes down to just fear.
Yeah.
And usually that fear is baked into what others are going to think of you and that you're not lovable. And that's really where the most fear comes from, is that you're not, most depression, in my opinion, comes from the idea that you're not a lovable human being and you're not a good human being and that you're just bad. And it's easy because I think we grew up with a lot of love. We grew up very loved and cared for, and we both had self-esteem and love instilled in us. But that makes it our job to spread that love to other people and let them know that they're loved too. So if you're watching this, we love you. You're loved. It doesn't matter how shitty you are. There's something to love about you. All right? So don't blow your fucking nuts off.
You can always be better tomorrow.
You can always be better tomorrow. That's really the beautiful universal love code, is like, tomorrow, yesterday was yesterday, tomorrow's tomorrow. And, is everyone, if you've, like, let's say you've killed or done fucked up shit, you know what I mean? Like, you're a fucking monster. There's, hey, it's still possible. Look, the shit people will embrace and love is infinite. Love is infinite. So no matter how fucked up what you've done in the past is, if you're fucking sorry for it, part of that sorry may be that the state government happens to take you to fucking jail, but it's never the end. And there's always something to love about someone. And if you're sorry and you fucking move on, there's no that love really is infinite. There's no person that doesn't deserve, a redemption and a humanization. You know what I mean? And that doesn't deserve to be alive. So anyhow,
I would say also, or I don't know if also, but yeah, like dwelling on the past, like that if anything is the only time.
I do that way too much. I do that way too much, man.
Right. And I catch myself doing that sometimes too. It'll be like something like where I remember, like, in a lot of my art classes in college, like I completely would half-ass an assignment and turn it in. And I was like, oh man, I was such a fucking cringy college kid that like thinking from the perspective of my teacher, they're probably like, this fucking pothead piece of shit. He didn't work on this at all.
There's so much shit about me that even up to the age of like 23, I like fucking want to die and cringe thinking about. Yeah. But it's like, why think about it, bro? Today you're a good person. In the past,
you were a different person, and I mean, people, there are things you can do where, in the past and that could come back and bite you, like fucking like Liver King, where you're just blatantly lying. And then,
that guy had like that coming.
Right. Exactly. That
guy's just a fucking scam artist capitalist. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. But there's a lot less extreme examples of that. But at the end of the day, people's memories are short. They move on. They have their own things to worry about. So you thinking about something that you did that embarrassed yourself, they're probably not thinking about it. And even if they are,
and also if you just go, that sucked and I wish I had never been like that or done that.
Right. If you own up to it, it's not like anyone's ever going to confront you about it probably. But if they did, you'd be like, yeah, that was super cringe of me. Like, geez.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Exactly.
Shit.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Then what are they going to say? Like,
even just like thinking about just like you mentioned college, just like the type of conversations that you would have in college, or like the type of like the shit you would say in classes or whatever. Just like, I don't know, man. But the key to self-love is also loving other people. Like I think the reason a lot of people the reason a lot of people struggle with kind of empathizing with themselves or like forgiving themselves is because they don't practice doing that with other people. They judge other people. They have these categorizations, these violent sort of binary categorizations of people and how they are and what they are. And always got to have that love. You can't have that judgment. You got to have that good faith at all times
And
because you need that. You need that too.
Right.
No matter how good of a person you need that too. So,
and for the most part, you have absolutely or almost no perception of what that person's life experience is, like every individual instance that shaped who they are. So to then like go and judge them based on, factors that,
you're not seeing the whole picture. You're not seeing, and we'll never see the whole picture of everyone's life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was just about to say like Joe Biden or something like that. It's like even like the most evil people in the world, like, you know what I mean? It's like something brought them to that point. You know what I mean? And usually it's structural, systemic. It's bigger than them because the other thing is like at the end of the day, man, think of the most cringy, terrible, shitty person you could think of. You share the same collective universal field of consciousness frequency. You're still grabbing from the same field frequency of consciousness is one giant wave of energy. It's one giant frequency. It's just how it's captured. It's like radio. How it's captured, it just depends on what station you're at. But it's still the same. It's the same frequency. It's the same energy. So we really are all one person. We're all one human being. So if you think you're better than anyone else, your fucking mind is fucking...
Check yourself.
Yeah, you stem from the same shit. So anyways, this was a great episode. And
Absolutely.
I look forward to talking to Marcus tomorrow. It'd be funny if we didn't record, or like if he couldn't make it, because we've referred to him like 8 times, but I think he will. But
hopefully he does.
Yeah, y'all, we really appreciate it. Max, if you're watching this, we miss you. Hope you're doing well. Stay warm, guys, and have a great week. We'll see you motherfucking later. Woke and Boke forever. Peace.